we're always looking for what personal connections and vendettas are here. The Pritzker family, Penny Pritzker is the chair of the Harvard Corporation, which is the university's highest governing board. The Pritzker family and Trump do have a history, and there is some bad blood there. So that is one place where he may have an axe to grind.
So we've been talking about Trump and the chaos never ends over the Atlantic. The US government is now set to cancel all of its contracts with Harvard as Donald Trump escalates his war with the university. Last week, the US president tried to revoke the school's ability to enroll international students. Harvard's now suing the administration for this, as well as for the freezing of over $2 billion in research funding. The Trump administration claims Harvard has not done enough to fight antisemitism, allegations that the university has strongly denied. Harvard's president said institutions need to double down on their commitment to the good of the nation. We have Hilary Burns with us, who is a higher education reporter covering this battle for the Boston Globe. Welcome, Hilary.
Thank you for having me.
Hilary, there have been so many twists and turns in this very public fight. Can you just give us your take on the latest bits for people who in the UK might not have been following every single corner of the drama?
Yes, of course. So Harvard is the nation's oldest and wealthiest university, and arguably the most prestigious. And it has been engaged for weeks now in a legal battle with the Trump administration. The university says that the government is overreaching and threatening the independence of the university, trying to reshape the university to align with President Trump's worldview. So the largest escalation we saw late last week when the Trump administration tried to revoke the university's ability to host foreign students. That sent shockwaves through the campus and beyond. We talked to many students and professors who were shocked and extremely worried about what this would mean for them. And a federal judge here in Boston did issue a temporary restraining order on Friday morning, was allowing foreign students to stay on campus and graduate. However, we don't know what kind of chilling effect this will cause, how many international students will decide to study elsewhere, look at other fine schools across the world to go where the country is more embracing of international citizens. So it's been very interesting.
Yeah, it's one of the interesting angles of this. Obviously, when we're here in the UK, we've got three of the top universities in the world, Oxford, Cambridge and Imperial, and the government here is thinking about different visa system and payment system for international students, which has alarmed here the international student network and the universities themselves, because as you say, it's such an important kind of global, not just business, but trade of ideas and academic backdrop, isn't it?
Of course, yes. Yeah, the international students contribute so much, not just economically, but also to the academic vitality of these institutions, and their contributions to scientific research really are immeasurable.
So Harvard is, as most people will know, an extremely rich university and arguably can take this stand because it's got such a massive pile of money that it's sitting on. But the $2 billion that it's had rescinded in research funding, or frozen in research funding, that will presumably have an impact. How do you see that affecting the academic world?
Absolutely. Harvard does have, it has a $53 billion endowment. Most of that endowment is tied up in constrained funds and can't be used to just fill in gaps where suddenly it's needed. It's not just a savings account that they can dip into as they please. That said, they do have vast resources. They can move things around, and I've talked to many sources who say they'll be able to hold out temporarily, funding them much of their operations, but not forever. So the $2 billion in frozen research funding from the federal government, that is already having a massive effect. It's creating much uncertainty for scientists and researchers who don't know whether their life's work, where it stands. They're waiting for approvals. They're kind of in this state of limbo. The university, again, is trying to assist, but it's created so much uncertainty and stress on the academic world here in the Boston area.
Sounds like the Trump MO in every other sector of the world as well. What do you think will happen now? What's your bet on the next twist and turn?
Well, That's a great question. Harvard's graduation is Thursday, so I'll be there in attendance to see if there's any kind of protest or what themes are discussed. Last year, there was a massive walkout over the university's handling of the pro-Palestinian encampment on campus. So
Yeah.
I'm expecting Thursday to bring some news. But in the larger fight, I'm really looking at the big picture. What does the Trump administration what are they really trying to do with their attacks on higher education? What is the end goal? What will this mean for low income students for foreign students? So there's much reporting ahead.
And some people might say that this has got a little bit to do with Trump's own chagrin at having his son refused a place at Harvard. Does the twist in this battle feel as though it's personal to the people in Boston in a way that perhaps Trump is feeling it's personal to him?
Well, we have not been able to confirm that Barron applied to Harvard. I heard that that could just be a rumor, but we'll keep at. We're always looking for what personal connections and vendettas are here. The Pritzker family, Penny Pritzker, is the chair of the Harvard Corporation, which is the university's highest governing board. The Pritzker family and Trump do have a history, and there is some bad blood there. So that is one place where he may have an axe to grind.
Well, that's a great update. Thank you for sharing the twists and turns of the story. I think that it will have international ramifications if we aren't able to have this important exchange of people between different countries travelling around universities. Thank you very much for joining us, Hilary.
This administration has opened investigations into universities across the country for violating, we talk a lot about Supreme Court rulings. Universities across this country are in plain and direct violation of the Supreme Court's ruling that affirmative action, as in racial quotas and set-asides, are illegal. Students must be admitted to universities on a color-blind basis. But we have demonstrated through clear evidence that our university system, including our medical schools, and perhaps particularly our medical schools, are engaging in race-based discrimination, racial set-asides, racial quota schemes, and other efforts to evade the Supreme Court's ruling, and again, the plain text of federal statute. So universities are on notice, and universities are already facing the financial consequences of their noncompliance with federal law. The clearest example that we're all familiar with, of course, being Harvard, which is engaged in repeat, systemic, and sustained violations of federal civil rights law.
First, when it comes to Harvard, as I said, the president has been quite clear they must follow federal law. He also wants to see Harvard apologize, and Harvard should apologize for the egregious anti-Semitism that took place on their college campus against Jewish American students. There were professors who said that he had engaged in discriminatory behavior against Jewish students. Of course, you had the former president of the university saying bullying and harassment depends on the context. You also had an encampment on Harvard Yard that we all saw play out before the cameras. The university failed to impose formal discipline on any students for this anti-Semitic conduct violations, including the occupation of a campus building and the disruption of classes with bullhorns. The president believes Harvard should apologize to its Jewish American students for allowing such egregious behavior. As for the tax-exempt status, I would defer you to the IRS for any updates